Hello and welcome to what is going to be a fairly basic tutorial, but it's also a vitally important one, and that is checking your oil level. So either checking it and or topping it up depending on what sort of state your bike is in. So as Roy and I discussed earlier regards this video, it's something where if somebody is a little bit embarrassed about the fact that they don't know how to top their oil up, they might not go onto the forums or ask that question in the form of feeling silly and a little bit ridiculed. So we want to put this out there so that you know that you can keep the maintenance and the oil level on your bike, which is critical to tip-top level without feeling embarrassed, because you know exactly the right way to do it. So you have the sight glass at the very bottom of the engine. It is a clear glass with a red circle. That red circle indicates minimum and maximum. The oil level is just as dangerous overfilled as it is underfilled. Now, the engines, as a rule of thumb, use depending on your riding, and that is temperature variant and also the riding habit variant, can use anything between sort of 850 ml to a litre per 1,000 miles. So just keep an eye on that speedometer to make sure that you keep track of how many miles you're doing, how often you're checking it, and if you do have to top up, how much you're putting in. Obviously, keeping up to speed with your regular service intervals will make sure that everything stays tip top and tickety boo. So one of the main procedures when topping up, or should I say checking your engine oil level, is having the bike at operating temperature. So operating temperature is anything from 80 to 90 degrees. So that could be sitting on the side stand for 5 to 6 minutes before you then sit it upright and check the sight glass. Alternatively, going for a ride, parking the bike up, turning it off. By the time you got your gear off, that is then enough of a grace period for the engine to have cooled down enough into the oil level for settled on the sight glass for you to then check the level. As I mentioned just a moment ago, a vital point of this check is to have the bike upright. So please, we advise, don't do it on your own if you don't have a paddock stand or a front stand. And bearing in mind, with the paddock stand, the back of the bike will be ever so slightly raised, so you need to have a little bit of sort of grace when looking at that oil level. However, don't do it on your own. Don't think that getting down on the deck, having a look at that oil level, holding the bike up here is going to be enough concentration to keep the bike upright, because what will happen is you'll be looking at the sight glass, worrying about how much or how little to put in, if any at all, to which point the bike's gone past its balance point and you now need to repair the right hand cylinder head cover and or some bar end mirrors. And that is a sad place to be, so we don't want to be in that position. So in a moment, we're going to get the bike run up and get it up to operating temperature, to which point we're going to turn it off, give it enough time for me to go get a coffee, come back and double check the oil level. So when you go out to your bike in the garage before you start it up, you're going to have a glance down at your sight glass. And like I said, you've got that red circle on there showing maximum and minimum. Now, if you see no oil in there, or the oil level is very, very low, don't automatically think, oh God, I'm going to need to top it up with a lot of oil. You need to get the bike up to operating temperature before you make that decision. That is a vital choice to make. Get it up to operating temperature, then make that look to see whether you need to top it up or whether you can leave it. Without further ado, we are going to run this up now, and then we can see where we're at regards to topping this up.
Few moments later.
So you've run the bike up to operating temperature. Now, a little bit of a top tip, something you may or may not know. On the Gen 2 and the Gen 3s, so the 2017 to 20 or the 2021 onwards bikes, you can actually cycle through the menu on the left-hand switchgear and you will see that there is an engine temperature readout. On the Gen 2s, the engine temperature is in degrees. On the Gen 3s, it is in like a bar chart setup. So get that so that it is reading anything between 80 and 90 degrees. Turn the bike off, and then a few moments later, you can come back and double check the oil level. Now, on our Baja bike, the oil level needs topping up. So a perfect opportunity for me to demonstrate to you how to go about doing it. So in your BMW toolkit, you'll see that there's a screwdriver handle, and at the bottom of that screwdriver handle, you'll see that there is a triangle shape. That triangle shape fits perfectly in your oil cap tool. Alternatively, you can buy one of these online and that'll fit perfectly in the oil cap tool to then take that off and top it up with some oil. So I've filled up this jug with 250 ml of Pewterlene's finest, and that is 15W50 for this engine. Now, as a rule of thumb, myself and Rory do 250 ml at a time because we do not want to overfill the engine. And once again, it is a case of, just like when you're running the engine up, pour the oil in, or once you've poured the oil in, a few moments later, double check the oil level. Don't quickly race around to the bike and physically see it filling up. You want to allow the oil to run to the bottom before you then say that's enough or it needs a little bit more. So let's go ahead and do that process, and then we can see where we're at on our Baja bike to see whether it needs a little bit more. As you can see, this is a prime example of not panicking when you see not a lot of oil in your sight glass. So as I'm sure you saw at the start of this video, this sight glass was showing little to no oil in it. That was both before and after we ran it up, so cold and operating temperature. We've now put 250 ml of oil in and it is reading absolutely perfect. It is bang in the middle of the sight glass, exactly where you want it. So thank you very much to our Baja bike for being the perfect student, because that is an exact example of how you can overfill a bike very, very quickly by seeing that and thinking, oh, let's put in half a litre or even a litre. You'll be in big trouble. These bikes only hold 4 litres, so don't go bananas. Anyway, with that over and done with, I really hope that that's helped you and given you the confidence to double check your oil level regularly on your own bike. And please remember, where possible, do not do it on your own because you will end up dropping the bike. Just make sure you've got a mate with you and make sure you do it when it's hot. Cheers.